Hey, this is Mike Lindsay from Vital MX, and we're here talking about the 2023 Honda CRF450R Works Edition. We just spent the day testing it out at Glen Helen Raceway, and yeah, it's another Works Edition. We've had a couple of these special edition models now from a few different OEMs for a few years, and it's kind of cool to see how they've evolved over the years from just a basic graphics package, a slip-on, to now a little bit more what we see here with the Honda as a full Yoshimura exhaust system with a resonance chamber. This exhaust system is a little bit different than the customer spec one. It was tested in durability by Honda, so it is a little bit different than the version that they sell to consumers. It does have the full team graphics kit, it does have DID STX rims, things like different Renthal grips, different chain, clutch cover from Hinson with the Honda Racing insignia on it. It does have some cylinder head porting that is a little bit different than the consumer specs, some mapping to match it, and of course coated fork legs, uppers and lowers. So it brings together the whole look, gives it a little bit of a spice to it that looks a little bit more like the machines that Chase Sexton and Colt Nichols are racing on the weekend. However, with the more added on goodies, the price has been continuously going up. This bike is about $2,800 more than a standard CRF450R when it comes to the MSRP. And ultimately, because there is a limited edition run of these, they typically don't find deals on them. They're typically sold close to their full price, even sometimes some markup depending what time of year it is. So ultimately, what we're going to try to answer in this video is this bike worth the extra $2,800? So let's start with what is different compared to the standard 450 on track. For me, the thing that stands out the most is the difference in the power curve between the exhaust system, the mapping, and the cylinder head. This bike has a much longer character to the power, and it's a little bit more linear. The standard CRF450R, regardless really of what engine mapping mode you put it in, it tends to be, it has a hit and a character, which is fun and playful, but it does kind of start off a little bit more linear and then gets really progressive as it starts to enter the mid-range. It makes the bike feel really aggressive, really strong. However, that can make the bike a little bit hard to set up, and as it's pretty well known at this point, has been for a couple generations, the CRF450R can be a touchy platform to find bike balance and comfort on. So when you have that aggressive power, it can also kind of affect the teetering of the bike, the way it squats. Going to the Works Edition, again, that power is a little bit more linear and drawn out. And honestly, it's surprising is it makes almost a bigger difference to how the bike tracks than most major suspension changes I've tried making to the standard bike. Again, you can go through, revalve it, set up for yourself, and that can help, but the difference, that power character really calms down the rear of the bike, really helps it drive, and really helps the balance. Again, the bike isn't overly squatting under power. It doesn't feel like it's teetering as much, even though really the suspension change on this bike is more down to the coatings. You would almost swear it has a different spec in it because of how the power is delivered and how that affects the entire bike. Again, for me, coming off this, that is the biggest standout initially, like, wow, this is what I wish the standard CRF450R was. And really, again, it's exhaust system, and the head porting on it is pretty minor in the mapping. These are things that aren't too hard for you to go do with the standard bike with the right people involved, but it is nice to have it right out of the box. Again, something I'd rather just the stock bike be anyways. Again, the CRF450R is just a little bit of a sensitive motorcycle. I tried to start the standard 106 millimeters on the sag, and actually just depending on, I don't know if it was the terrain we were set up on when we did the initial sag measurement, we actually got it a little bit too deep initially. So the bike was standing up along corners. I think we ended up accidentally at like 108, 109. Came back in, changed the sag just a little bit, and it was a nice little reminder to me that this bike, to me, really needs to be on point with setup, with your fork height, with your shock sag. If you have one, I implore you, whether it's the standard bike, the Works Edition, always stay on top of that. Again, it's a very sensitive bike, just a couple millimeters here and there really plays with it. When this bike is balanced and set up, it is genuinely fun. Again, it's very easy to get off that target, but once you're on it, it is very playful. It is a very light feeling 450. That's a combination of the nimbleness of the chassis, the power. Again, it's really easy to throw on. It's just a very exciting and fun bike. It is a little bit lacking in comfort compared to some of its competition, but at the same time, it wants to be ridden aggressively, and the harder you push yourself, it tends to be more rewarding. Similar to the standard CRF450R, there is a lot of power options on the bike with 3 different engine map modes and also 3 different versions of their traction control system. You can either have it off or there's 3 different levels. I still found myself personally going to map 2 like I do on the standard bike. That is the smoothest power. It's the most linear. It feels the most drawn out. The standard power is still a lot better on the Works Edition, again, than the regular bike, map 1. Map 3 is aggressive, and as with most bikes, the aggressive map is fun and playful, but it tends to rev out a little bit quickly. It tends to taper on the top end, so map 2 is really good. As we got into slick conditions, if I really wanted to calm it down, the first or second setting of the traction control is really awesome. Basically, when the bike picks up a lot of RPM really quick, it senses that and it takes away just a little bit like timing and feel just to calm down that RPM build rate. So makes it a little bit more controllable in the track slick. GH, of course, we've got the big hills. It's fun to let the bike eat, but at the same time, it gets chattery. It gets slick at the end of the day. So being able to taper that power was pretty fun. I feel like some people I talk to like to play with these all day, and other people just find their combination map and traction control and they leave it alone, and that's all they ride the bike on. That's what they want to get used to. All the goodies on the bike, of course, are nice. The only things that really maybe affect the riding character is the gripper seat cover from Throttle Jockey. It is a nice inclusion again where the Honda has a lot of output and power. The standard Renthal grips that they come with on this are a lot better than the stock bike, just a lot nicer on the hands. Honda is known for having very harsh stock grips. And everything else again is just bling, kind of just an aesthetic thing. So really at the end of the day, again, that $2,800, is it worth it? It's tough. We did one of these on the Kawasaki SR. I feel like the SR has a few more goodies with triple clamps and a little bit bigger change in that power character than stock, to the point I was a little more convinced the money was worth it there. This is still a decent buy, especially if you want it, you want to spend the money. That's always the key. But if you're really on the fence for that $2,800, I really feel like you can go get a standard Yosh exhaust. You can get somebody to do you an aftermarket ECU that could even go this direction, maybe even make a bigger change. And again, like I said, I think really tapering the power and changing the power output on this bike helps the chassis and suspension feel more than anything. And then go get the suspension done for yourself. So if you like the look of it, cool. If you're really on the fence about the two, I think the standard bike, you can spend that $2,800 to get it in a similar direction as this bike, but take it even a step further. So that's some of our thoughts on the new Works Edition. If you have any questions, throw it in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more content.